All right, we with the Mill Stakes podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. So remember, the Mill Stakes podcast is all focused on millionaire mistakes. So what mistakes have each one of these current and aspiring millionaires have made on their way to the tops, and we want to make sure that you do not make the same mistakes. Right now, we're still on Real Entrepreneurs TV, where we are trying to equip, educate, and inspire aspiring and current entrepreneurs. And today on the Mill Stakes podcast, have a very special guest, dear friend of mine, Eldridge Moore. Just to give you a little background, me and Eldridge met a few years back in the real estate business. He's still in the real estate business, and that has evolved into multiple other branches and multiple other streams of income, which he'll tell you a little bit more about that. But more importantly, for the listeners, he's going to be able to share some of his critical mistakes that he made during his career so far, and what he's doing to avoid those mistakes, and what system he's put together to avoid further mistakes in his multiple businesses. So without further ado, here we go. We got Eldridge. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, man, for investing your time in me and the listeners, and sharing your time on the channel. And remember, our main purpose today, if you didn't know already, is to equip, empower, and to educate and inspire entrepreneurs worldwide. So today we're going to share those mistakes that were made along the way. But before we even get into that, man, tell us a little bit about your entrepreneur journey from the beginning. How did you even get started in entrepreneurship?
All right, no problem. Well, I got started back in 2014.
Okay.
I always knew I was going to be either an entrepreneur or a professional athlete.
Okay.
And in college, I always was thinking about, like, how can I make some money, after I graduate college. In my senior year at University of Louisiana at Lafayette, I decided basketball wasn't the journey I wanted to pursue. So I started researching real estate, and I came across a book by Robert Kiyosaki on Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Classic.
And that book just instilled, like, real estate in my mind. So I read the book cover to cover as soon as I graduated college, and now I'm here 6 years later with a couple properties. I have an operating wholesaling business, and I'm looking to get into private lending.
Good stuff. So real quick, just to backtrack, you don't hear that part too many times about what you said about your senior year. You decided that you weren't, going to pursue pro athlete. What is it that you learned that made you make that decision?
Well, I have a great mentor by the name of Terrence Johnson. He is my cousin, and also he was my AAU basketball coach ever since I was 14 years old. And he gave me some great advice. He said, find what you want to do early and stick with it.
Okay.
So at 22 years old, my senior year in college, I knew I fell out of love, and my passion for basketball just dwindled a little bit.
Okay.
So, and then when I read the book, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, I felt like some fire in me, and that advice that my AAU coach gave to me, find what you want to do early and stick with it. I really was thinking about that, and that's what got me started in real estate, and that's why, I stuck with it, and I'm at this point now in my journey.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about that first business. I know you mentioned the ones that you are into now, but what about that first business? Tell us about that.
Okay, it's real estate wholesaling. If you're not familiar with real estate wholesaling, it's pretty much locating distressed properties, getting a contract on these properties, signing a contract with the sellers, and selling your position to an end buyer. And it's an earned income type of business. A lot of hard work have to be put into this business. But it was a great introduction to real estate. I got to learn how to evaluate property, how to negotiate with sellers, and also just had to make a transition from athlete to entrepreneur. Was a big transition, a lot of personal development. I think I had to work in the beginning phases of this journey. I had to work more on myself more than in the business, just because to make that transition.
Got it. So when you say wholesaling in real estate, period, what did you mean by earned income?
Earned income. Well, I had to show up every day, and make hundreds of phone calls a week. I had to put out signs. So it's like the activity to earn your income. It's not like a passive income where you could set up something and it pay you passively and you don't have to show up every day to work. So and I like the fact that the earned income could eventually get you the passive income.
Right.
So wholesaling was that, avenue for me.
Got it. So in entrepreneurship, we always hear people say, grind, outwork the competition. If you work hard, you're gonna rise to the top. What type of hard work did that first business get out of you? What type of hard work did you have to do in that first business?
Well, just to touch on a little bit what you said, about hard work. You have to have the right avenue to work hard in. If you're the contractor on a property and you go in there and laying the sheetrock every day, that's hard work.
Right.
But you have to be smart about what you're working hard in and to earn the money you want to earn. But just to answer your question, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, what type of hard work did you have to do in that first business? So I'm pretty sure you have competitors in your market, and to outwork the competition was probably a goal, and to make your business, the best. So describe the type of hard work that you had to do in that business.
Okay. So weekly, I put out these signs, these I buy houses signs every single week. I used to go out at about 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. at night to put out these signs every single week. I remember having times where I would leave the movies with my girlfriend just to go put out signs. I have the signs in the car just to go put out signs. And I know that one thing, if I was consistent in that one thing, I knew I was going to get business, because most people are not consistent. If you are consistent in something, you definitely could beat out the competition just by being consistent. So that was really one thing that helped me in the first 2 years actually in my business.
Got it. And what type of challenges you normally have in that type of business?
Well, the lack of income, really, like the income coming in consistently. With this business, is the more you market and advertise for properties, the more the income should come in and translate. But managing money was the biggest thing, biggest mistake, biggest lesson learned in those first 2 to 3 years. Because some like in January you may make $20,000, $30,000, but in February you wouldn't make anything. So just not like, I don't know, like the point I'm trying to get across is pretty much just like manage the money right and learn about financing, because not every single month is going to be a big month.
Yeah, and what about money management? So for the entrepreneur, and I agree with you. Both of us are in the same industry with similar channels, but for the contractor that gets bulks of money, or the music artist that gets bulks of money, what was it about money management that you made a mistake with?
Well, not knowing, taxes, for example. If you make $40,000 in a month, you got to put money aside for taxes. So That was one mistake I made. You know, I had to get, you know, after I made that mistake, I had to get on the payment plan. I read a book called Profit First
Mm.
to know when the income come in, you should have a tax account and a percentage on that tax account just to put it aside for when it's time, when April come around, you have to pay your taxes.
Right.
So that's one big mistake in lesson learned that I still practice to this day.
Gotcha. And what happens, and we talked about this online with my experience with taxes. What happens when you don't prepare for taxes?
Well, you go into major debt, really. If you go
Yeah.
into major debt, you know, the IRS could put a lien on you, you know, and like it's just a ripple effect if you don't pay your taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the challenge in the business was money management, right?
Yeah,
You
that was
decided that.
in the beginning. It was money management.
Gotcha. So now we moving on into that business. You earning money after you first get started. You learn about, you know, the advertising and things that actually need to be done and what hard work looks like. So now tell us about those following years after that. What new challenges came after you overcame those initial challenges?
Okay. Some of the new challenges, and it kind of like go into the managing money, is helping out family and friends too soon. You know, because as an entrepreneur, you still consider, you know, a young business owner at the 5 year, 10 year mark. You know, so I would say, you know, like focusing on stabling yourself and diversifying the way you make money and get multiple streams of income before, not saying be selfish, but like in the beginning, you have to kind of like be a little selfish in your dream and then help them down the line. Because like I know I loaned money, never got it back, bought liabilities and things like that before I had the money to actually afford it, and that kind of like hindered my growth. You know, if I would have just focused on building and not doing those things, I'll be much further along right now today.
Got it. So what and I know a lot of people could relate to that. So if you had to kind of now moving forward put a strategy together in hindsight, how do you approach now helping well, I would tell you, what advice would you give to people about uh when to help family and friends as an entrepreneur?
I would say when you have multiple streams of income, you know, and when everything in your life is stable, because I believe in giving back. I do believe in giving back. My company purpose is to build a great company that inspires people and to give back to the community, right?
Right.
You can't give, you can't pour out of an empty cup, you know. So I will wait till your cup get full, and then you give back. You know,
Yeah.
because these family and family members and friends were surviving without you before you had the money. So it's like they
Ooh.
could, they could still find a way to survive without you having to be that source of income for them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. Definitely agree with that, because as an entrepreneur, you almost look like the superhero of the family,
Hmm.
but they never really see, you know, the scars and bruises that go on behind the scenes. Um, you know, they just think that you're in position to help at all times. So I get
Exactly.
that. So moving past that, here we are after the first year. Now next year, we getting liquid. So with those money management issues, and now even with I wouldn't call the family and friends portion a issue, but a brand new challenge mentally, right? Tell us a little bit more about the personal development that you spoke on, because entrepreneurship is not only about, you know, just checks and balances and QuickBooks, but what challenges, mistakes you made on a personal development tip that you had to overcome?
Man, I remember when I met you for the first time. I got to tell this story. You know, I met Emile at a REI meeting, and he said he read 27 books, if I remember correctly. And my goal, and I haven't done a deal at this time. I haven't done any business, any real estate at this time. And Emile said he made a lot of money, right? I'm not gonna say the amount he said he made, but
Now, we just talked about taxes, bro. Do not.
yeah. so 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 he said he made a lot of money, and he said he focused a lot on reading and leaning on authors for that pick me up, you know. So I was like, if this dude read 27 books and made this much money, I said, I'm gonna read 28 books and maybe I could make the same amount of money he made, right? So personal development is everything in entrepreneurship, you know, like, because family members, my own grandma didn't believe in my vision with real estate and stuff until I started making money, you know. So I leaned a lot on authors like you, and also I invested a lot in my education with hiring mentors, going to different events and things like that. You know, without that personal development portion, I definitely wouldn't be who I am today. You know, and also I feel like my level of personal development is higher than where my business is at. I feel like my business need to catch up with my level of personal development, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So any mistakes you made in that personal development though?
My mistakes in personal development is probably not educating myself sooner. Also getting lax. Like after I felt like I was hungrier my first 2 years in my personal development. In these last few, like I guess year 3, year 4, I kind of got relaxed because I felt myself at a high level when it came to personal development. And also listening to the wrong people, you know, like when you're in search of knowledge, not everybody is the best person to listen to, you know. So that was a big mistake, you know, listening to multiple people.
Yeah.
When I decided to listen to one person, that's when things started that's when stuff like just started to take off, and then I could like become a master at that and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you said that. So now how did you formulate a way now to vet who you take advice from and who you don't?
Well, if I'm looking to get into a new industry, I try to research and find an expert in that field, and listen, and then do my research on that person. You know, if that person is an expert in that field, they should have some, interviews, some podcast interviews or things like that, a website, look for testimonials. But, at the end of the day, it's all a chance you're taking. If you don't connect with that person, or like resonate with things they are teaching and how they are teaching the information, it could be the wrong person for you to listen to, so I think it's really trial and error. But I feel like I have grown into knowing who to listen to and who not to listen to.
Yeah, I think that's heavy, man, especially in the mentor space, because you mentioned during your personal development and these mentors that you had, what were there any mistakes made with selecting and working with those mentors?
Yeah, so sometimes when we're working with a mentor or a coach, I like to call them coaches, because a mentor to me is someone that you build a relationship with, right? A coach is, you just pay them and they tell you what to do pretty much, and then it could form into a mentor over time. But a mistake that some coaches make is giving you advice for their current situation, not your current situation.
What you mean?
What I mean by that is that, like, let's just say, for example, in my wholesaling company, I had $30,000 in the bank. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
In your coach, he at a level where he have $700,000 in the bank. If he can't, like, he gonna tell you, sometimes a coach would tell you things to do that's working for them in their current position that you can't afford.
Yeah.
You know, so right now at this point, that's the wrong advice. You know, even though you're the expert, but that's the wrong advice for my current situation. So you have, as the student, you know, you have to be able to recognize those things. You know, listen to your coach, but at the end of the day, make sure that advice is good for your current situation. You know, I had mistakes in times where I implemented these things that coaches was telling me,
Yeah.
and I almost went broke without money. You know, just because it's like, you know, I'm not ready for that right now. Probably 6 months down the line, I may be ready for that. So I just jotted down now.
Yeah. Got it. And you got an example you think you could share that could drive that home?
Well, the example I just gave, that was actually me. You know,
Okay. All right.
yeah, that was actually me. Yep.
Okay. Got it. And with the just to circle back, so to get you to where you're at now, you're saying that the mistakes that you made was definitely money management, not paying attention to your books, not being strategic about taxes. Another mistake was your personal development. So not paying attention to it as early on as possible. And another mistake was, you know, dealing with mentors and following their advice word for word instead of taking it and then kind of carving it to your situation uh,
Right.
to make it work, right? So
Right.
pretty good. And now all this was as a result, you know, early on in these your early stages. So now let's talk about diversifying, right? Because you made sure, you know, we're talking about hard work, being consistent, and diversification is key to being successful as an entrepreneur. So tell us about that journey. How did you diversify and what did you diversify into?
All right. And one thing I want to say is that, you know, one of the mistakes I did make is not diversifying sooner.
Mm,
You know, because I was so wrapped up in the earned income where I didn't start preparing myself or you know, putting myself in position to start investing in passive income.
mm.
You know, but can you repeat that question again though? I just wanted to mention that.
Nah, no problem. So in regards to diversification, how have you diversified your business?
Okay. I started buying some of these deals I was selling. You know, right now I currently own 6 units,
Mm,
and I'm doing Airbnb with those 6 units. And the process of me diversifying I started building credit because fresh out of college, I didn't have any credit. So I started building credit. I built relationships with private lenders. And now I'm looking to scale my portfolio along with having my earned income with my wholesaling. Now I started buying certain assets. And also I have out of 6 of those units, 2 of those units are cash tenants, regular tenants.
yeah. And what challenges are you seeing now with that diversification? So whatever, what I'm noticing in entrepreneurship, every time you find a solution, the solution comes with problems,
Right,
just like the problem that you're solving. So
right.
now that you're serving the diversification issue, what problems are you facing now?
All right. A problem that I'm currently going through right now is that, like, when you decide to diversify, um, your main thing could start hurting a little bit. You know, could go down a little bit because you kind of like not switch focuses, but you kind of like add to what you're doing. So it's like you know, is if you don't have like an operation, a system in place for that main business, it would be hard to start diversifying.
Mm,
So right now, you know, I'm currently building 2 units right now, and I got a lot of money tied up into these 2 units. But that's kind of like hurting my wholesaling business because I still have monthly expenses in that business. So trying to balance the two really is one of the not mistakes, but like what I'm going through, you know, and I have to overcome this.
Yeah, man. I think you're making a good point on both of those. Well, all of those, to tell you the truth, with businesses suffering. So you would say it's more given because whatever you give attention to, you get taking attention away from something else. So
Right.
attention that's given to diversifying is being taken away from that main business, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any mistakes early on with that decision to diversify? Did you make any mistakes with that?
With
Should
the
one
decision to diversify, no, I really haven't made any mistakes with that. I knew it was the right thing to do because, you know, I look at, you know, we pay monthly bills, so we should have monthly income coming in, you know, and that's how I look at it. So I wouldn't say no mistakes with that, but it is hurting my wholesaling company because of the decision to make that, you know. But like I definitely believe in passive income, so you know I don't see any mistakes in that on that end.
got it? So knowing the mistakes that you've already made with initially starting business and now further into your career now, if you could talk to your 22-year-old self, knowing the mistakes that you made and knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to the 22-year-old Eldridge?
The advice I would give to the 22-year-old Eldridge is to start positioning yourself as an asset. You know, like, and what I mean by that is relationships is important, credit scores is important, and as soon as you become available to be able to buy a property, buy one, you know, and not wait for it. You know, just because that buying an asset help in so many ways. You know, it increase your net worth, you know, increase your cash flow, and it make you look good on paper. So that's what I would tell my 22-year-old self, is just to position yourself as an asset. I think I started positioning myself as an asset probably around 24, 25
Mm-hmm.
when I got my first secured credit card.
Yeah. And just so the listeners know, this is not a real estate pitch at all. I think Elridge would agree, is not only to purchase. When he's saying asset, real estate is not the only
Right,
asset, but
right,
what your advice is, make sure that you are investing into something that's going to give you a return as
right,
early as possible.
right, right. Yeah, real estate is just the industry I'm in.
Correct. And that's just a avenue to get a ROI on, which I think is excellent industry. But there are also other industries that you can use to get passive income.
Mm.
So entrepreneurship, you mentioned networking is crucial, is vital. You mentioned going to those conferences in your personal development phase, right?
Right.
Relationships and entrepreneurship. Tell us about mistakes that you made that you would tell that same 22-year-old Eldridge about relationships in business. What mistakes have you made with relationships? And when I
My
say that, I mean let's talk business relationships. We're talking business.
business relationship, yes.
Right.
So, man, like I have I had to get out of my shell, you know. Like I was always the shy person, didn't like to talk to people and things like that. So it's like I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You know, when I first met Emile and a guy named Andre, you know, I was scared at the table because this is the first time I knew I was networking. You know, so you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. But I let that my comfort zone stop me from building some relationships I know I should have built. You know, so like and that's big. Like networking is really big. Like I feel like you can't build a great business if you don't network. Every person like that I network with and that's friends today, I made money with them. Me and Emile made money. All my business relationships, I made money with every single one of my business relationships.
Yeah, I agree, man. So what about we spoke on family and friends, right? So any mistakes with those relationships that you made?
Well, not necessarily mistakes with
Mhm.
family and friends. It's just that you're gonna, when you start saying no, you know, that could make the relationship kind of weird.
Yeah,
When you start saying no, um, but no real mistakes. Like I know me and my business partner, who is also my ex business partner, who is also my brother. We dissolved our partnership in January. So that's the biggest relationship that was a family member that kind of like hurt, you know, my business.
yeah,
And also we it hurt a little personally, but it was January of last year.
got it,
Yeah.
got it. So let's talk about the future, man. So where's the business going, and what resources can help you get there?
Man, the business, like I want to build my wholesaling company to a 7-figure company. Right now we've been hovering at 6 figures for a while.
Mhm.
I used to want to get it to like this 8-figure company, but like my goals change every single year the more I develop myself.
Yeah,
Um, and I want to start my private lending company. I'm also building relationships with different lenders who to lend to me, and I pretty much arbitrage and be the middleman on the lending side. And also I want to build my rental portfolio to more than 1,000 units. So that's where I'm at. I think my end goal with all of this is to stick in the lending space.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. So the gap that you're in right now, where you are and where you want to be. If the audience could help, if I could help, what resources would you need to get you to your goal?
Well, I'm always looking for more lenders, more capital. If you someone that have some money and not collecting a percentage on your money that's not satisfying to you, please, reach out to me for sure. We definitely can help. And I know that I'm always gonna come through. And I'm gonna always invest in myself. Because I believe like staying sharp in something and mitigating risks is with knowledge.
Mm,
The more knowledge you have, you can mitigate risk.
right.
So, and I know I'm going to continue to educate myself, but that's what I'm looking for.
Got it. Remember, the purpose of Real Entrepreneurs TV is to, educate, empower, inspire. What books would you recommend the listeners to read to help with their personal development, or to help with those tax mistakes, or even with the family and friend relationship? What books would you recommend to help mitigate the mistakes that you made?
Okay. Some books that come to mind. I definitely recommend Outwitting the Devil, by Napoleon Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in real estate, definitely read Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Mm-hmm.
Think and Grow Rich. All of those are mindset books. And for managing money, I would read Managing by the Numbers
Mm-hmm.
and also Profit First.
Okay. And we'll put all of those in the show notes as well. You can click and get to those. Outwitting the Devil. I listened to that one twice on Audible. So I second that one. That one was good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so um, how can people get in touch with you, bro?
You can get in touch with me through Instagram, Eldridge Moore, Facebook, Eldridge Moore, and through email, eldridge@morehomeoffer.com.
Got it. Well, hey, man, thank you again for investing your time with me and the listeners. I think everybody get a lot of value out of your story and the meal steaks that you made. And can't wait to keep watching your rocket ship go to the top, bro. We're proud of you.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Got it, man.